There have been many memorable moments at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve through the years. And today, that's where the Rolex Sports Car Series brings its own unique brand of excitement. Two-time Montreal winners SunTrust Racing, second in the Daytona prototype point standings, are on a roll after last week's dominating victory at Watkins Glen over championship-leading Ganassi. Meanwhile, Gainesco's 2011 title hopes were dashed after a crash at the Glen. So just how aggressive will they be today? In the production-based GT class, we're seeing one of the best points battles in all of auto racing. This season, there have been 5 different driver combinations to lead the standings. The title contenders, 9 different drivers, 4 different makes of car, and all within 20 points of each other. Only 2 races remain in the season. GrandAm is in Montreal, a track where you can expect the unexpected. It's the Brumos Porsche. David Donahue and Darren Law get the victory. It's close though.
Oh, he's out of the hill!
Oh, can you believe it? For the second time in a week, GrandAm gets to play on another legendary track. Yes, 7 days ago it was Watkins Glen. Today, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. The foundation of this place is Formula One, but in more recent years, NASCAR and sports car have enjoyed the annual visit. This is round 11 of the Rolex Sports Car Series, the Montreal 200. Hi folks, Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader with you here in Canada. We're excited to be back at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's our 5th consecutive year here. We've had different winning combinations every year. And as you just saw, we had the closest finish ever in GrandAm history. So we're excited to be back. Cal, we've only got 2 rounds to go. The season's flashed by. What's the state of play?
Well, for the SunTrust team, coming off that brilliant victory at Watkins Glen last weekend, their task is really, you've got to go out and win these final 2 races. That's the target anyway, easier said than done. And really put some pressure on the Ganassi team. For the Ganassi team, they've been here many times before. In fact, last year, they had exactly the same points lead at 26 coming into this race. So this weekend, little different scenario. The Ganassi team not showing a lot of speed. Memo Rojas qualified 7th, a second and a half off the pole. They haven't qualified that lowly in a year and a half. So Timmy Keane, the team manager, really needs to manage this race. I think he's really got to get the boys, the drivers, to keep their eye on the big prize, which is the championship. But let's not forget, they do have one of the best finishers in the business in Scott Pruitt.
Absolutely. Dorse, 2 championships still up for grabs with 2 rounds remaining. One is certainly more comfortable than the other. If you're not one of those teams in the championship hunt, what's your motivation here today?
Well, it's still very important. There's so many really good teams that have not won a race yet. You know, guys like AIM Autosports, Action Express, Star Wars, Spirit of Daytona. They're all qualified in front of Ganassi. Looking to one more race in this series. Look to next year. Sponsorship. I mean, you have to win races to get sponsors. It's important.
All right, let's talk more about that championship points scenario. Daytona prototypes first up. And remember, you get 35 points for a victory. The margin between the top 2 is at 26. The 3rd and 4th places there, you can see very tight with Action Express. And as of the last round, John Pugh and Oz Negri from Mike Shank Racing have jumped up into the top 5. Time to take a look at the Rolex track map. Talk us around, Dorse, if you would.
We've got a 2.709-mile racetrack, and that's 14 corners. Very technical end is from turn 1 to turn 7. A lot of corners in a short space. The name of the game here is top speed. 2 very long straightaways, and it's known for really being abusing on the brakes. And this is one reason why. Look at the speed of this car and how slow he's got to go through the chicane. And this isn't the tightest corner, Calvin, because up ahead there's a hairpin he's going to have to go through. These cars run 180 miles per hour here, and to get into that hairpin that you see, they got to drop 112 miles an hour. You see from 180 to 64. That all in the length of a semi-trailer, if you will. Look at the different places on the racetrack where you got to brake and brake really hard. That's why it's so abusive on brakes. You have to baby the brakes a little bit here, or you'll be in trouble.
Subaru's starting grid will roll across at the top of your screen, and while it does, Cal, we need to turn our attention to the Continental Tire keys to the race, because this is an important one. It's a tough one. How are they going to win it?
Well, certainly we've seen aggressive driving in the past. Also, how aggressive are you using the curbs around this racetrack? You can gain lap time, but you certainly not run the risk of being thrown into the wall. Dorsey talked about brakes, so critical here, particularly for the heavy GT machines. One less pit stop. This is a 2-hour race. We saw at Watkins Glen. If you can run the right strategy, maybe do it on one less stop than your competition, that could put you in victory lane tonight.
This is the most brutal track for the GrandAm Rolex Sports Car Series on brakes. As Calvin mentioned, who will look after those the best? Who will manage them the best? This has always been a bit of a physical race over the past 4 years. So we'll see if today is similar. 25 cars take to the track at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on a beautiful day here in Montreal. There's been a good crowd. It's a triple header weekend with Canadian Tire Series racing, NASCAR Nationwide Series racing, and then this is the second race of the day, the GrandAm Rolex Sports Car Series Montreal 200.
See the drivers there weaving around, trying to build some tyre pressure, tyre temp right now to get ready for the start. When you talk about those braking zones, Dorsey, turn one is really, really difficult. You're trying to, you know, hold the car down, get it slowed down, and people are turning in. Spoke to Mark Roffoff just a few minutes ago. He said in the drivers' meeting, I've really urged the drivers to be patient going down into that first corner. Is a problem area on this racetrack.
They got to feel the grip out too, because the Canadian Tire race was just ended. That's a different type of rubber than what these cars are running on. They're not compatible, so for a lap or two, it's going to be very dicey.
On board with Dempsey Racing, on board the FXDD Speed Source Mazda of Emil Asentato and Jeff Siegel, the defending GT champions. It is highly unlikely they will defend that championship. They've had a bit of a rough run this year. Ready to go green. And the Red Dragon has turned around a miserable week into a real positive here to sit on the pole. However, they have never driven to victory lane here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We'll see what Gurney and Fogarty can do here today. Let's go green in Montreal, and it's a great start from John Fogarty.
Good start all the way through the DP field, no question about it.
Look at Ricky Taylor to the outside. He's pushing the issue there. He tries to get the inside.
Oh,
this is going to be tight. He's got him.
Well done, Ricky Taylor. That was nice driving. Positioned that number 10 SunTrust Solara perfectly. Pugh's got a problem. John Pugh has a problem.
Oh,
yeah, lack of drive there, Dorsey. Something must have broke, you'd have to assume.
Yeah, I would think something in the gearbox or something let go. It has no drive right now.
Ricky Taylor, John Fogarty, and then David Donahue. You heard Chris Neville talk about it earlier. He's got his momentum. He's got some mojo back, and he's pushing hard at the front in that 5.
Rojas there down the inside of JC France, I think, going down into that brake zone. So still, we see the Ganassi car way back in the pack in the early stages.
This end of the racetrack is just like a street circle. We used to race in all the street circuits. The penalty you pay if you spin in this area is that you can't get turned around, and you more than likely will contact the wall.
That move by Ricky Taylor was really showing the confidence that that young man has now got in driving one of these Daytona prototypes. To force the issue on cold tyres down into turn 1 was brilliant.
I asked Scott Pruitt, Chris and I were with Scott Pruitt yesterday. We asked him about passing the opportunities here. Rojas contacts the 8 of Potolicchio.
Yeah, and he put him around, no question about it. He wasn't really far enough in there.
He talked about it. He's mired down there after qualifying. You've got to be patient. And also they're going to be looking at that. Was that avoidable contact or not? We spoke about Timmy Keane, the team manager for Ganassi, has got to manage his drivers.
You saw all the GT cars, and speak of them, here is the drag race down the front straightaway.
It's a breaking duel between the 57 and the 59. Andrew Davis tries to force the issue in that Porsche. Couldn't quite get there.
Paul said, and Boris said, you can see him there. He's dropped back quite a bit. He's back in the 4th spot.
Ronnie Bremer, who was in the mix here 12 months ago for the Stevenson team when it was then a 2-car team. He shares the 57 with Robin Liddell. Again, he leads the class. Sylvain Tremblay's done a nice job in the 70. Let's take you back a few moments ago and show you what happened with Enzo Potolicchio and Memo Rojas.
See, Memo's trying to get his nose up underneath there, which is okay, nothing wrong with that, but he wasn't clearing alongside Calvin when he contacted and put Potolicchio around.
Watch the speed here. We're looking at a replay of the start. Watch Ricky Taylor commit to the outside and get the grip, Dorsey. That's remarkable. Easy on the brakes. Couldn't afford to hit that brake pedal hard with cold tires. Beautiful move.
And even though the 2 cars bumped, they gave each other enough room. I mean, that's extremely tight in there.
Chris, tell us more about the 01.
Well, right before you saw that contact down in the hairpin, Tim Keane all over the radio at the beginning of the race telling Memo, take care of the nose, take care of the car. After that contact, Timmy said, hey man, you got to listen to me. You got to listen to your team. That's what we talked about before this race, and you got to pay attention if we're going to win this championship. Greg?
Yeah, and an update on what happened with the Mike Shank Racing Crown Royal XR entry. Apparently, they said John just got a neutral. Just a complete surprise. Don't know exactly what happened. Said it's working fine now. So he just got one of those mysterious neutrals, and it laid down on him coming out of 2.
So Ricky Taylor leads the way. And what a move that was. Right here. He put that number 10 Dallara in the top spot, but Fogarty's not letting him go. And David Donahue up to a positive start ahead of Paul Edwards.
We talk about brakes brakes on this racetrack, and one of the things that happens when you brake really hard, you get a hard pedal, it doesn't stop, just like this. That Porsche helped a little bit.
Yes, Paul Dalla behind the wheel of the Turner Motorsports car there, and John Potter right up in front of him. And these guys are still very much in the thick of this championship chase, but when that car stacks up, Dorsey, you just hit that pedal for all it's worth. It still may not slow the car down enough.
Of course, Will Turner got on the radio right away to Paul and said, remember, it's a long race, save those brakes, it's very important here.
Quick update on the 01. We can tell you that there is no penalty. It was deemed a racing incident with Memo Rojas and Enzo Potolicchio. Hey, speaking of the Starworks team, Chris Neville's there.
And Enzo Potolicchio had a great start there, jumping up 2 spots in front of the 01 car. Peter, what did Enzo have to say on the radio after the contact?
We had a chat on the grid about it, and warned him, Memo's going to race you hard. He's not going to give you anything easy, and Enzo knows he might have, turned in a little bit on him. And we knew, if anything, if we were ever going to get a penalty for contact, it would have been at Road America. So it was, just racing out there, and this year's more about learning for these guys and learning who to race and how to race them, and he just learned something there.
Well, when Peter heard that there was no penalty, he just kind of shook his head.
Enzo Potolicchio has actually had a lot of, 69 quick spin there from Mil Asentado, but no damage. He had a problem there in the same part of the racetrack in qualifying yesterday. But getting back to Enzo, he's had 4 wins in Ferrari Challenge here, but he said driving Daytona prototype, Dorsey, totally different deal.
Different deal. We'll take a look here what happened to Mil Asentado. We saw the spin, harmless, luckily enough. Boy, the downshift started it in motion, and it just never stopped.
Yeah, it's a tricky braking zone because you're coming around that right-hand sweep and the car's a little bit light, and I think he just mismatched the downshift maybe a little bit too early before he got the car straight and locked up the rear wheels.
Back heading in the right direction and no harm done. What we call a harmless spin. Meanwhile, let's look at the front here of GT, because there's a little more room now between Ronnie Bremer and Andrew Davis. It's a little more comfortable. Boris Said has got the 31 up to 3rd over Sylvain Tremblay, and then James Gouet is in the top 5 in the 41, the first of the Dempsey Racing Mazdas.
All these GT guys have been talking about the length of this race and the fact that, I think they've learned lessons now. You can't win it to the end, and the strategy on this 2-hour deal makes a big difference with GT cars.
And I think you're spot on there, Dawson. I think that's what Boris Said is probably doing right now. He said after qualifying yesterday, so I'm going to look after that race car and turn it over to Owen Kelly, so he's got some car underneath him for the end of this race. And remember, Boris has so much stock car experience on these road courses. He knows how to really use the brake pull, but not hard enough where you're going to burn them down.
And of course, what we're talking about is normally these GrandAm races are 2 hours and 45 minutes, but when we run with NASCAR, which we are this weekend, they drop to 2 hours. That puts it at a 2-stop limit, but there is some strategy, Calvin, as we've seen. If you really conserve your fuel, you can make it with one less stop than everyone else.
It's doable, particularly for the GM machine. We saw the Mazda still seem to be a little bit light in terms of how far they can stretch their fuel. We saw that at Watkins Glen, but certainly the Porsches look good. The Camaros should be in good shape as well.
Isn't it fascinating? We had a great chat with Sylvain Tremblay earlier in the weekend. Doss, he's a multi-time Rolex 24 winner, but he still prepares, leaving no stone unturned. He's still doing a lot of sim work coming up here to Montreal. Every circuit that he goes to that he can have access of those tracks. Spin for the 88. We understand there may be contact.
That's a championship leading GT car at this point in time, and we'll have to take a look and see what happened to Bill Lester.
And that's where you have to be really careful when you're just kicking that car around. Don't break an axle, just get back on the power as easy as you can. There we down into the hairpin turn.
Yeah, that's kind of conclusive.
Turn right at that critical point, right in the middle of the apex. The car's really light, a lot of steering input.
And we talked about that. That's the second time Paul Dalla has been caught out by brakes. We talk about brake problems. When your brakes get hot in one of these cars, what happens is you get a very stiff pedal, but the stop isn't there. You're pushing like mad with your foot, but you're not getting the net result. That's overheated brakes.
I think he was also expecting Bill to maybe roll a little bit more speed through the middle of the corner. And it just takes a little nudge there. A little nudge there. We're now hearing for that nudge, Paul Dalla will have to do a drive-through penalty. Remember, you can't service the car or take anything on board during that run.
Bert Frizzell has got a rear view mirror full of Memo Rojas, the Gamma 88 machine. This is a huge weekend for GrandAm's only Canadian Daytona prototype team. The first time they've done back-to-back races since way back at the beginning of the year. I think it was Barber and VIR was the last time they did back-to-back races. So good to see the Gamma 88 boys from A Motorsport on the track again. Bert led a good percentage of the Watkins Glen race, so that gave them a nice shot in the arm, and they had their 3rd, 4th place finish of the year. They want to go one better at least and try and put it on the podium. The Canadian Tire 200 at the Glen. Oh,
he nearly ran into the back tail there of Rojas.
But not the day that Bob Stallings' game shows team wanted to see.
Watch what happens here.
I just didn't know that would happen.
What has happened to our GT class leading car?
Sounds like a drive shaft.
Ricky Taylor, Max Angelelli, they will celebrate victory. Spencer Pumpelly, they roll to the line. And while we're away, the 01 has made its first pit stop of the day. Maybe a little bit of frustration getting stuck behind Bert Frizzell, a little bit of strategy as well.
Absolutely. I think this is the lap that they could come in and now do it on one more stop to get to the rest of the distance. 2-hour race, remember, so that leaves at about an hour 46 to go. 53 minutes is what they told us in terms of fuel mileage for a full tank. They're right on that now, but good call by Timmy Keane because Mabel was really stuck in traffic.
Yeah, it takes him out of that fray that he was in, puts him on an open racetrack where he can run some really good numbers right now. It's a pretty smart move.
This is round 11 of the GrandAm Rolex Sports Car Series. Welcome back, folks. Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, and Greg Creamer is with us this weekend as well. And it's the final short race, the final sprint race of the year. It's our last 2-hour format race, and we know one thing from history is that these shorter races give us plenty of action. Look at David Donoghue. The 44 Magnus car has held the 99 up a little bit. Donoghue has a chance now.
He does. The Action Express cars rolled off the truck really quick this weekend. Both David and Darren and certainly Schwalbe-Boster in the 9 car showing a lot of speed in the practice sessions, and David has hung on to these leaders here. Got a little bit booked in traffic right now, but he has the speed of these two front runners, Dorsey.
Absolutely. That's what I talked about in the Open. These cars have come alive at the end of the year. They're not in the championship hunt, but they are definitely able to win races right now.
Chris?
Well, Lee, going back to that early pit stop on the 01 car, this is something Timmy Keane and I talked about yesterday, and he said since the middle part of the season, he just doesn't feel like they've had the outright speed as the Chevrolet motors. So he said, you know what, we're probably going to come in early because we're more consistent over the entire run. We might not be able to be as quick early in the run, but over the entire run, we're much quicker. Greg?
Well, the guys are talking about that close battle for second now with Donoghue hounding the 99. That is obviously in the hands of pole sitter John Fogarty. I checked in with Alex Gurney and I said, is John willing to settle behind for a little bit and just hound and pressure? And he said, well, with the margin we had in qualifying, although we don't think that's realistic in terms of race trim, we think we're quicker. We'd like to get around him and try and open up a little bit of a lead. So that's what Fogarty's plan was. However, now, as you guys pointed out, traffic obviously throwing a big wrench in that.
Top 5 in GT has not changed. While we're away, it's still Bremer, Davis, Ced, Tremblay, and James Gouet. Out comes Paul Dall'Anna. Why did Paul Dall'Anna come out? He got a drive-through penalty for that contact. Whoa!
Oh, that was a good save, I think. No, definitely not.
I think it was right as Patrick was winding it out in a gear, Dorsey. It just got away from him. I don't think Emil was close enough. That was the next car in shot there, the 69 car.
Yeah, it just broke free for sure. And I thought he had it gathered up.
Yeah.
He got in the real dirty part of the racetrack. There's no saving it then.
You're still turning there. You feel like you're almost in a straight line, but you've still got some steering input in the car as you come up and accelerate towards that first chicane.
Up front, Ricky Taylor has a comfortable 1.4 second lead over this man here, John Fogarty. And it's about 2 seconds back to David Donoghue now after getting caught up there a little bit. And then Edwards, then Dial. That's your top 5. Here's GT at the front. Ronnie Bremer's doing well. Andrew Davis has lost it. Boris slips through on the inside.
Got wide, got in the dirty part of the racetrack we talked about, and the Brumos Porsche slides and Boris pounces.
Boris up to second, and I really feel he's just biding his time as we see the DP leaders, Ricky Taylor and John Fogarty, thread their way through. These GT leaders, I mean, they've got a battle of their own, so you have to tread carefully.
This is the car that was on pole and led laps here last year, and the same at Miller Motorsports Park, the 31 I'm talking about, the Wheelan Corvette. It's their older car. The new one is a little too badly damaged to get it ready in time for here and also Mid-Ohio. So they'll race the remainder of the year with this car. Interesting story too, Dors. Boris's teammate is Owen Kelly. Owen Kelly is in North America just for a brief visit. He's made the trip up from Australia. He is practicing and qualified Marcus Ambrose's nationwide car, and will also do the GrandAm race with Boris.
You know, got in the car yesterday, never been to this racetrack, never sat in the Corvette before, and what does he do? Well, he's the fastest guy in the first section.
It's looking good for another GM car. The 57 continues to lead the way. Let's go to the Stevenson camp.
Well, Mike Johnson obviously paying very close attention to the monitors right now. Mike, it's been one of those seasons for you. You guys have always had the pace, but boy, in terms of luck and where you've been on the racetrack at the right time, you've had some issues, but you're in the right spot right now.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a very common spot for us all year up front. We've led the most laps this year and had a lot of poles and have been there at the very end, but it seems like for one reason or another every weekend there's something that bites us with 15, 20, 30 minutes to go, and you know, we go into each race just trying to get rid of that last race, put it behind us, make sure we figure out what happened and go forward. And, you know, we feel just as confident now as we did, you know, last week when we led with 20 to go and failed. So, you know, it's really all we can do. And we're testing a brand new car and a lot of new components. So really at this point, we want to win some races, but, you know, we want to be ready for Daytona next year.
All right, well, good luck with this one. Let's head a little further up pit lane to Chris Neville.
Jordan Taylor and Bill Lester leading GT right now, but Jordan, your teammate got punted there in the beginning of this the race, currently running 8th. Are you going to be able to get that car back to the front?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, everyone's times are super close, so any gap's going to be pretty difficult to make up. We lost about 15 seconds when he got hit off, so we'll see what we can do with the pit stops and strategy, and hopefully we can get this Auto Haas Camaro to the front.
Well, we've seen some impressive drives by Jordan this year, but this is his first time to circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, he has been here before, but he didn't actually get to see the green flag and actually complete some race laps. So he's really looking forward to that opportunity. Nobody's led more laps in GT than the Stevenson drivers, Jan Magnussen and Robin Liddell. We'll see if they can go all the way to victory lane here today. We are back, and Ricky Taylor, Ronnie Bremer, your respective class leaders. How about the 90 Spirit of Daytona machine? It's running well with Paul Edwards, and our pole sitter Boris said is in.
I think he'll probably stay in the car. They're just working the strategy here. They're looking at 2 stops, so they're going to do this one now. It just opens up a bigger window for these guys. GT cars don't get quite the mileage of the Daytona prototypes. Remember, their fuel cells were reduced in size a couple of races ago.
Go.
We were talking about Owen Kelly partnering. Boris said the reason why he is in there because Eric Curran is still recovering from his Achilles tendon surgery. We came back from the break. We showed you Paul Edwards running well in the top 5 for Spirit of Daytona. How are things looking at that team, Chris?
Troy Fliss's team was considered a championship contender all season long. Very quick laps in practice and qualifying, but you guys just haven't gotten the results. Right now, running 4th. What'd you guys do to shake the bad luck?
We don't know yet. We're just keep trying. We've had a bad year this year on our luck or whatever you want to call it, but we have had a lot of things catch us out. So just building our program, you know, and we got a great Chevy product in there today, and the Coyote's running good, and the drivers are happy. So we're just hopefully have an uneventful day today and hopefully get up on the podium.
Yeah, this team will be a Corvette team next year. Still uncertain what drivers are going to be behind the wheel, but Troy Fliss very excited about 2012. Greg?
Well, I checked in with Joe Foster at Dempsey Racing in that Visit Florida Mazda, and the reason for the spin apparently when the 94 Turner Motorsport BMW did its drive-through for contact and it came out on the track, the 2 of them ended up trying to go for the same bit of space, and Patrick, to try and avoid the car, actually got squeezed into the wall, had that quick spin. So 94 has had an interesting day, and Dempsey, of course, just getting here, didn't get any of the track time on Thursday, so he's learning on the go. Hasn't been here since 08.
Guys, a couple of things that I saw on that pit stop just a minute ago. We watched this pit stop. One thing is that all of the radiators are getting debris in them. I saw on Boris's cars they pull it. Also, speaking of Boris's car, the fueler, I don't think was done putting fuel in when Boris drove away. He looked aggravated, the fueler did, as the car went off.
Check out this, though. There's some pressure now on Ricky Taylor as he goes around the 30 machine. JP Morrow, who also ran with Tom Long at Watkins Glen, and they should see action together at the final race at Mid-Ohio as well. So Fogarty does have a very fast race car, but again, Ricky Taylor showing a lot of speed. They've now stretched it on David Donahue. As you can see, he's really been gapped in this GT traffic.
Fogarty had a quick look there, didn't he, Dorse? Just poked the nose out, had a look at the inside, heading down as they flash by Champions Wall.
Well, he's going to try to be as much of a nuisance as humanly possible without getting in trouble, that's for sure. He wants the lead. You'll see him here. Ricky was really aggressive at that start, though. You know, we can't say enough about this young man. He's just such a talent.
Dorsey, you were just asking if the 31 was filled up. I just checked in with Teddy Marsh. He said we actually pulled out on time. That was a time stop, so you didn't see fuel actually come all the way up and pour out a little bit. Time stop, he says they're in good shape.
That's a good observation, Chris. Thanks.
Look at this. This is getting very interesting. One-on-one. The 10 and the 99, Taylor and Fogarty.
Talking to John Fogarty this weekend, you see these darker patches, as you can see, through the apex of the corners. He said they really give the car a lot more grip. He said they're quite tricky, particularly coming down into this next chicane area. He said it's settled a little bit since we ran there last year. There's a little bit of a bump there. So really, you have to be careful with the car, though, as you're turning in.
Healthy gap back to the 5 of Donahue. Then we go a little further down the order, the 9 and the 01, JC France, Memo Rojas. Remember, Rojas has stopped. They've played their hand strategically. And now he's working his way back up through the field.
JC France in 6th place right now in the Daytona prototype category. Will not want to give that up.
JC said it's shame that Terry Borscheller is not here this weekend, but he said what it does give me is a little bit more seat time. He said when I qualified the car at Watkins Glen, I had not been in the car all weekend long, and that is a very difficult task. So for JC and Joao Barbosa, this allows both of those guys a little bit more seat time rather than a 3-driver rotation.
Let's give a shout out to Terry Borscheller as well. Terry, I know you'll be watching, and we know that you had surgery on your wrist. You've had it pinned. A quick recovery, mate. Hopefully we'll see you in your driving overalls at Mid-Ohio.
This is where Timmy Keane needs to be on the radio and just talk Memo Rojas through this race. Give him the big picture. How are you doing? Don't get too impatient. Don't take any chances. Again, we said at the top of the show, they've got to be thinking big picture right now. He still needs another minute to get championship points here today.
JC French doing a really good job, guys, I think. You know, like he said himself, he doesn't get a lot of time in the car, and he's really showing well right now holding that Memo Rojas back there.
More on Action Express. Here's Greg.
Yeah, I checked in with Darren Law with that car, the number 5 car, and you guys have been talking about that. It looked like traffic had caught him out. He was dropping back. So I asked Darren if it was just traffic related. He said no, actually. He said the longer we're running, we're getting more and more understeer in the car. And he said so we're trying to figure out some tire air pressure adjustments to the car to try and get that solved when we do come in for the next stop with those Continental tires. So the team actually struggling just a little bit with the setup.
These guys are 3rd in the Daytona Prototype Championship points. The closest competition is the sister car, the number 9s. Let's go down to the Action Express, guys. Greg?
Yep, in already. The car down. Tires are on. Those Continental tires are on. Sunoco fuel just going in. Driver change actually taking a little bit longer, just buttoning it up. And now that beautiful Riley and out Joao Barbosa behind the wheel. And that car, well, obviously they're looking forward to Joao taking it to the front right now.
Well, Joao, when he was in the car, was the fastest of all Daytona prototypes in 2 different sessions in practice, so he's got speed in that car.
What you're seeing now is that when these pit stops are happening, they are doing the driver change because we're past the 30-minute mark that a driver has to do to score points here today.
Is Andrew Davis. You saw that flashback of his 2 victories here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. He's currently running 2nd. And these guys are one of many championship contenders. Let's hear from his co-driver.
That's right, Lee. Just 7 points back in this GT championship. But Lee, you and Andrew, last 2 races, a 12th place and a 7th place finish. What do you guys need to do to turn the momentum around?
Well, we had a little bit of bad luck the last 2 races, so we need to get back to winning races like we're in the middle of the season. We got a good car. Andrew's really happy with it right now. We're on P2. We're excited. I want to get in the car and see if we can finish on podium, finish ahead of the 88, and get back in the hunt a little bit more, or maybe take a championship lead. We'll see. It's close.
Well, Lee won this championship back in 2009, so he knows how to get it done.
He does. I'm talking to both those guys this weekend, both Lee and Andrew. They said, we really feel the intensity right now, so we're trying to stay calm. I spoke to Andrew. I said, when's the last time you won a championship? He said, back in my SCCA days. He said, I realized how important it was. We were close to winning the championship with Stevenson. I said, oh, there'll be another day. Well, you never know when that day's going to come. He said, I need to capitalize this weekend.
And the interesting thing, too, is it's not just all about the drivers. The manufacturers play a big role in this. And Porsche and Mazda, it's appropriate we go from that, mate, are tied at the top of the manufacturers' standings in GT. Porsche has had 4 victories this year to Mazda's 1. This man here, Sylvain Tremblay and Jonathan Bomarito, are the guys who got that sole victory. But Mazda have power in numbers. You can see 3 of them here on track all together right here. So that's how they're at the top of the manufacturers' standings.
Tell you what, he's having a great job there as James Gilles enforced by the great qualifying run. He's right behind Sylvain Tremblay. Greg Creamer's down there with the Grand Royal guys.
It is down. Driver change is done, of course, past the 30 minutes, so Osnegri behind the wheel. There's a bit of damage to the lower left rear corner of that car. Some of those vents and vanes on the back have been bent. One of them is folded down, and it can't be doing anything good to the aerodynamics on the back end of that car. Might be something to watch.
Good news is they continue, because we obviously saw John going at very low speed during that opening lap, some kind of gearbox issue. They do run the paddle shifter for the Pro-Am drivers in Daytona prototypes, of course, but they got it fixed, and Mike Shank and the boys trying to recover here.
There's a race within a race in GT and within the Mazda family, because you've got 2 Speed Source cars, 2 Dempsey cars, you've got 3 Salins Mazdas, you've got the Racers Edge Mazda, and they all want to be top RX-8 in each of these races. Gilles has reeled in a little bit of ground on Sylvain Tremblay.
Yeah, they've really found some form over the last couple of weeks. They've shuffled around some of the staff and engineering people on that team, and it's really showing right now, because last weekend at Watkins Glen, as we see now, John Fogerty putting the pressure back on Ricky Taylor. I mean, that 41 car could easily have won that race. They needed 1 yellow. They were 5 minutes shy on winning that race there at Watkins Glen.
Just whipped by Wayne Nonamaker in the Salins Mazda, and Fogerty is relentless here. He is not easing up on Ricky Taylor, and on the other side, Dorse, Ricky Taylor's doing a good job handling the pressure.
Yeah, Ricky has shown us a lot. No question the pressure is on, but, you know, he handles it very well. We've seen that. He doesn't, we were talking about it earlier, that he doesn't make mistakes. You don't see very many mistakes. Of the whole year this year, the only time we saw a mistake was at Elkhart when he had a simple spin, and that's been it.
Yeah, and I tell you what it might come down to is when they choose to pit these guys, they're going to read the traffic, and then it's going to be that if the other guy stays out and does one more lap on hot tires, how can the guys then coming out of the pits on cold tires respond to that?
It's about a 4-second gap behind Fogerty to Donahue in third. Edwards remains fourth, and Bert Frizzell in that Gamma 88 Riley in the top 5. Caution free so far. We had 4 for 17 laps last year. The boys are playing nicely thus far. While we're in that break, a couple of important stops. First up, the number 70 Speed Source Mazda.
Yeah, and these guys are now in their window as well, where they can do it on one more stop. You see Sylvain Tremblay jumping out, Jonathan Bomarito getting back behind the wheel. Did an Atlantic race here before. He ran here last year but had pneumonia. He said it was a tough weekend for me last year, but loves this race circuit.
So that was one on the GT side of things. On the Daytona prototype side of things, the race-leading car, Ricky Taylor, brought the 10 Dallara in.
Max Angelelli jumping on board, fresh Continental tires, full fuel load, and critical part is going to be, did John Fogerty get a clear lap when he stayed out, and will they decide to bring the 99 in immediately to respond to this?
You would assume so, but not necessarily. We'll have to see what kind of lap he gets. This one, according to plan, the Sunoco fuel, the last thing going in.
Well, Greg Creamer was there observing this stop. Tell us more, Greg.
Well, for one, it was a brilliant stop. It was one of the fastest I have seen. Everything went absolutely perfectly with it. Driver change went like clockwork. Those Continental tires, the Sunoco fuel was on board, and he was gone. And obviously, this team right now is clicking. We're waiting for an opportunity to chat with Ricky and have a word with him. Meanwhile, the number 57 Stevenson Motorsports Camaro is in, and had been told by Mike Johnson that they were going to be doing so. They came in exactly on that schedule, 2 laps in, doing their driver change. Robin Liddell on board. Let's check in with Chris Neville.
The 61 is in. Bert Frizzell handing over to Mark Wilkins. This team had a great weekend last week at Watkins Glen, finishing 4th, running 5th right now. But Bert Frizzell saying that their gear split is a little bit off. When he's got a clean track, the car is just perfect. He has pace with the leaders. But when he's in traffic, he gets bogged down. Just doesn't have the grunt. He walks off the corner. Very good stuff.
We're hearing a whisper that the 99 may be coming to pit road. At the moment, there's a 47.5-second difference between John Fogerty and Max Angelelli. So the 2 cars that were duking it out at the top of the field, and we'll watch how quickly the 99 boys. So the Gainsco team have to execute a perfect pit stop.
And with that gap, this is the shortest delta. The difference between coming down pit lane and staying on the racetrack is almost a shortcut, Dorsey, so it only costs you about 20 seconds plus the servicing, though. That's the critical factor.
Yeah, which makes it even more important that the servicing goes well.
Gurney going to get in here. So the pressure's on now. What sort of lap did John Fogerty get there when Ricky Taylor brought the car to pit lane? And what can Max Angelelli now do on cold tires? Who's going to get the track position at the end of this stop?
Nothing like being put on the spot like they are now. You've got to perform and do your job perfectly. And we wait for the 10. Here comes the SunTrust machine of Max Angelelli. Greg.
Well, I tell you, they're going to have to work some magic in the Gainsco pit to match that stop by the SunTrust entry. It was a quick stop again. Those Continental Tires, Sunoco fuel on. They did the driver change, very effective as well. So it's going to be a matter of the matchup as they head down. That Gainsco car is in, and he was able to hang on to it, it looks like.
Yeah, he was, and I think that's a consequence, Dorsey, of hot tires on those laps that John Fogerty stayed out. They rolled the dice a little bit, kept him out 2 laps longer, and that really paid off for them. But right now, David Donahue has stayed out. He leads from Paul Edwards. Gurney will slot in a third.
Alex Gurney is going to have to do his very best job, which we've seen him do before, and getting these tires hot right away. Get up to speed as quickly as you can, because that first half a lap, you're really hanging on.
So at Watkins Glen a week ago, Max Angelelli had to deal with the pressure of Scott Pruitt on multiple occasions. Filling his rearview mirror, he responded in emphatic style, and in the end was able to drive away from Pruitt. It was a real good confidence booster for Max the Axe. He's a Rolex 24 winner. He's a series champion. He's one of the most experienced in Daytona prototypes. When you come under that kind of pressure, it really puts you on the spot. So he's feeling high at the moment. We'll see if he can reel Alex Gurney in. Meanwhile, race leader Donahue brings the 5 to pit road.
Darren Law going to jump in. Talking to this team this weekend, they said that Porsche's got good power, but is using a lot of fuel, Greg, so we expect that fuel hose to be on there a long time.
Well, that and the fact that, remember, they were talking about the problem of developing more energy as the stint went on, so it's going to be interesting to see what they've been able to come up with in terms of tire pressure adjustments to get a little more grip at the front of the car. Driver change is done. The Continental Tires are on Sunoco fuel, as you said, Calvin, taking a lot of time. Now they're good. Let's get down to Chris Neville.
Antonio Garcia in the Spirit of Daytona car pulling out of pit lane right now. Paul Edwards has needed a good, confident drive. He just did it. He brought this car in second place. Great pit stop. Fuel, tires, Continental Tires on that car. Antonio Garcia behind the wheel. This team needs a good result. They need to come out of here with hopefully a top 5 finish. Right now, they're in a great position for that.
Chris, yeah, so far so good. 59 is in. The Brumos gang go to work. Lee Keane will be taking over from Andrew Davis. How does it look, Chris?
Real good stop right now, and with the 88 car back in 6th place, both Lee Keane and Andrew Davis hoping to close that 7-point gap in the championship, and they're in a great position right now, leading GT as they came into pit lane. Andrew Davis said the car is great, and he had a fuel stumble right before he came in, so they ran all the Sunoco fuel out of that Porsche.
One thing they're hoping to fix, Chris, is they had a fuel pickup issue at Watkins Glen, and it was costing them about 3 minutes per stint, and that's ultimately why they had to make that additional pit stop at the end of the race last weekend. It cost them many positions in the overall results.
Actually sounded like he left in a very tall gear. Either that or they're running a very tall first gear here, which they might be using on this racetrack. And that's why when he went and left the pits, it didn't spin the tires up as you would normally hear.
At the front of the race, it's a 2.2-second gap between the 99 of Alex Gurney and the 10 of Max Angelelli. Let's hear from the man who started in that SunTrust Dallara.
Well, Ricky, the 16th consecutive race you've led, but as has seemed to be the norm as of late, you had a mirror full of another car. This time it was Fogerty. That move around the outside into the inside of 2 at the start was brilliant. Take us through that, first of all.
I mean, the 99 has a lot of speed today. Our SunTrust car is really fast as well, but I mean, I knew if we were just in clean traffic and he was leading, I was going to really struggle to get by, so I knew I had to make a move. I pushed really hard, and he made it difficult on me, but I had to stick it in there and give it a go. So SunTrust car's good. Max is going to do a great job, I'm sure.
You guys came in, it was a brilliant stop, but the 99 Gainsco car able to stay out a couple more laps in some clear traffic, and you just couldn't quite get them after the stop.
Yeah, we think they might have short-filled a little bit as well. So, I mean, if we can stay in touch with them and maybe catch a caution and, come in the pits right behind them, we might be able to beat them out the pits the next stop.
All right, well done. Great stint once again.
Thanks very much.
SunTrust car is again in the mix, and remember, they're trying to stay in this championship hunt. Second, 26 points behind the Ganassi boys. The 42 is in. Wayne Nonamaker started this stint. There is Catherine Wallace-Crawford on the wall calling the shots for this car.
And this team has been a revelation this year since the middle part of the season at Elkhart Lake. It all started to come together. Wayne Nonamaker on the pole there. They've had 2 poles for the year now, 2 second-place finishes, and just continually showing speed every weekend.
Third place car is Memo Rojas in the 01, the Telmex BMW. Look at the front of it, Dorse.
Yeah, we've had some problem here. As you see, damage to the front, headlight covers knocked off, and some of the carbon fiber ripped back.
Now, could that be from earlier when he contacted Enzo Potolicchio up at the hairpin?
No, this is a big hit on somebody. I think this one's Scott's doing.
So I think the hit on Potolicchio, it was like the left corner kind of getting in there. So he's run into someone somewhere.
Yeah,
that's for sure. He's hit a big piece of debris.
That's a bigger hit than what you think. These are pretty stout carbon fiber front ends, and to knock a hole in it like that, he got into something pretty good.
Remember how you were talking about the 1981 Rolex 24 earlier?
Yeah.
This guy was born in 1981.
Yeah, celebrated his 30th birthday this weekend, in fact. So there's been a struggle for them here this weekend.
So you're telling me I was racing for 10 years before he was born?
Yes.
That's what I thought you meant.
Chris?
Well, Paul Edwards has won so many GT races and championships, but Paul, middle part of this season, you looked like you were kind of hanging your head low and you just didn't have the confidence that we've seen in previous years, but this was a good run today. You got that confidence back?
Yeah, you know, this team never stops, so that means I can't, you know, but, you know, we're running good today. Hopefully we get a yellow. The Chevys are running strong, and it's a close fight in the manufacturer's title as well for the last 2 rounds. So it's important we all finish in front of that 01 car. So I think the car's got good pace. I was kind of feeling out the rear tires to see how they held up after Watkins. The tires seem really good. So I think if a yellow comes, we'll be in there for the fight.
As fast as the 90 car has been all year, how bad does this team need a good result?
I think everybody's on suicide watch, you know. I mean, the guys deserve a podium so bad. I mean, they deserve a win. I mean, I've never seen a team with this much fight, even with some of the heartaches we've had. So, I mean, they want as bad as I do. I want as bad as they do. So, hopefully, we get it here.
They've had some pretty low weekends, but each weekend that they show up, they're still digging hard.
Yeah, Troy Fliss and his group have just really been working their tails. Obviously, the 40 car in the pits right now. But Edwards won here in GT. He's got a lot of good karma with this racetrack. Maybe today is the day they get that first podium of the year.
Been a tough day for the Mod Space Mazda from Dempsey Racing. We saw that little hiccup earlier with Patrick Dempsey. Joe Foster now behind the wheel. There he is. Patrick Dempsey's business partner and good friend will have his chance at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Now, guess what's happening up front, folks? 4.6 seconds is the margin. Gurney is laying down some very impressive laps.
Oh, he just chopped nearly half a second off the previous best down to 1:33.4, which is a solid half second quicker than Max Angelelli. So the Red Dragon is flying.
The last time we had a caution-free race was 07. Who won that race? The 99.
Going to let us around. Memo wasn't aware, obviously, and he slowed down a little bit more than Memo expected because he was putting in some pretty good laps, and Memo collected him just a bit. Wasn't his fault, wasn't our fault. It was a bad place to do it, I guess, and he just kind of hit him a bit.
He's been saying that the car's a little bit tight. Will you make any changes on that next pit stop?
We're just going to fold that piece over and put some barrel bond on it and send him on his way.
Greg?
All right, I'm with John Fogerty, and John, an absolutely brilliant pole run, 7/10 clear of the field, but on the start, Ricky pulled the rim shot on you, and you tucked in behind. Your pit stop was brilliant. Was it running a couple extra laps in clear traffic, or did you guys short fill to be able to get that lead?
No, we took full fuel. Once I got clear Ricky, I had 2 really quick laps, but yeah, it was a great start on Ricky's part. I qualified twice on the pole here in the Atlantics, and I always would choose driver's right for the start. I think being driver's left here is a disadvantage for the pole sitter, but either way, it was a great start by him. You know, I gave him room. Definitely, you know, it's important that these Chevrolet cars finish in front of the 01 for the manufacturer's points, so happy about that. But yeah, the Gainesville Auto Insurance crew also had a quick stop. You know, we had a great stop, and we're out in the lead now, and Alex is running pretty well, so we're happy.
Obviously, the car's great one-lap qualifying, but how is it now in the race?
It's good. There's a little bit of understeer, but that makes it comfortable, especially in the brake zones. Alex's pace is good. He's got the fastest race lap, so you know, there seems to be good over the long tire run, which is critical. We're happy.
All right, John Fogerty and the team very happy about how things are going right now.
So they should be. Alex is 5.8 seconds out in front. He continues to stretch that margin. And in GT, Boris Said is back at the top. He has a reasonably healthy margin over the 57 of Robin Liddell at the moment. Remember, these guys are on a slightly different strategy, though.
Yeah, certainly Boris made that stop a lot earlier than Robin Liddell. In fact, 10 laps difference there in fuel strategy. But I think Boris has really managed this race very, very well.
I totally agree with you. Bad Boris is fast around here when he needs to be, but he's playing the big picture right now, and they're really conserving this car for the finish of the race.
And we understand that he and Greg Biffle did square things away in a non-physical way this week. There was a phone call made, and they had their discussion.
I heard that Boris called Jack and said, Jack, I really respect you. I've driven for you and so forth, but I'm going to pummel your driver about to death. And about 2 minutes after he got off the phone with Jack, Biffle was calling.
It has been an eventful week, as Boris mentioned earlier today. So comfortable at the moment for the Whelen Corvette. Boris is doing a good job, and as we mentioned earlier, he'll hand over to Owen Kelly, who did a nice job in nationwide qualifying yesterday, putting that Stanley Ford up into the top 10. It has been an eventful day for Dempsey Racing and the man behind the name, Patrick. Let's hear from him.
Well, it certainly has, and I think part of it is the old Hollywood day job makes your racing an interesting endeavor. You haven't been here since 08. You couldn't even get here for the Thursday practice, so you came in, your first day of running was Friday.
Yeah, I was a little behind the ball coming in yesterday and then getting in the qualifying circuit. Picked up a lot of time quickly. It's a very technical track here, so you gotta, it's nice to have a little extra seat time when we had. The guys did a great job with the Monster RX-8 and Visit Florida cars, so we're happy with that. It's just unfortunate we had some bad luck during the race. Had a really good run going with the 69 car. I think the 94 car came out of the pits and tried to give him a little room, and I don't know if I gave 69 enough room to get by or not, so we ended up tangled. Hit the wall, but the car kept going, so we'll pound around, see if we can get some laps back in.
Car feeling okay even with that bit of contact?
Yeah, it's a little slower, but I think we're up to race pace now with Joe in the car. Just took a couple laps to see how the car was going, and by then you lose the momentum. It's kind of unfortunate for us.
All right, welcome back to Montreal. Let's get down to Chris Neville.
Well, Owen Kelly filling in for Eric Kern this weekend, and Owen, right now, your car's out front. Your first time to Montreal and only your second Rolex race. Feeling a little bit of pressure?
Yeah, look, Boris is doing a great job. Car's going well. He's looking after the brakes. It's a great opportunity, and it's all going good, so hopefully we can keep it up.
Has he said anything about the car? Is the car in good shape?
Yeah, he said he's been really looking after the brakes, just taking it easy, and his lap times are still really good, so I hope when I get in it, it's got a good brake pedal, and there's plenty left.
Well, I talked to both Boris and Scott Pruitt about the raking around here because that's something you've got to be so concerned about in NASCAR. And they said, really, when it comes to NASCAR, you've got to protect that brake pedal at the tracks when it's hard on the brakes. This racetrack, you've got to be a little bit more mindful of it, not so much protecting it. Lee.
And Owen has an interesting story. He once drove for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the late model series. Here's our Capital One halfway leader. It's Alex Gurney, and he's doing it in style. For those of you just turning on, let's bring you up to speed with what's happened in Montreal so far. Check this out. It's the move of the race. Ricky Taylor on pole sitter John Fogarty.
Unbelievable. Put it around the outside. The tyres stuck, and he got the lead and held it to his first pit stop.
Then this, the 01 and the 8. Memo Rojas getting into the side of Enzo Potolicchio. And he was a lucky boy because he got away, no drive-through penalty. The same can't be said, though, for Paul Dalla Lana.
Now, Paul Dalla Lana definitely gets in the 88, spins him, and he will get a drive-through penalty, as you see right here.
One-time championship leader, Paul Dalla Lana. And then some very clever work on pit lane and some good hard laps. Got the 99 Red Dragon out in front of the SunTrust machine.
Yeah, Fogarty doing 2 more laps on his stint. They had hot tires, he laid down some good laps, and that kept the lead for the Gainesville machine.
Here is the Continental Tire race summary as we have just crossed the halfway mark. And the important one there is 0 cars out of the race and 0 cautions. This is very uncharacteristic for GrandAm Rolex Sports Car Series racing. Let's go to a man who made a positive start. Here's David Donahue.
David, obviously, both of the Action Express cars, when you guys got here, they unloaded what seemed to be pretty quick. You had a great run in qualifying. Darren told us that the car started to go off in terms of the handling, a bit of understeer during your stint. Well, one, did they get that solved?
Well, I don't think they got it solved, but he seemed to be happy with the car, which is a little opposite of what normally happens. Usually when I'm happy with the car, he thinks it's pushing. So we're just running our strategy right now. Who knows if it'll work out. So the car's pretty good. I had understeer, but then I started losing traction, but I think brakes even are going to be a big issue here. So it's going to be a lot of things to play out here right at the end, I think.
And all of that comes into play with the traffic in particular, dealing with the traffic. And if you don't have a good pedal, that's kind of sketchy.
Well, yeah, and it being basically a street course, it tends to rubber in on the line and not on the passing braking zone. So you got that too.
That's a very good point. This is usually just a park, and so this track starts off a bit dirty, and the number 10 is in further down pit lane.
Yeah, just over 52 minutes to go, so these Daytona prototypes are now in their fuel window. So as the first to blink, SunTrust are going to try and push the 99 team into making a decision here. What sort of traffic will Gurney get on this lap? Another critical factor.
And what we've seen is the first guy that comes in is going to bring the rest of the field with them. We expect now that the 10 has come in and made his stop, everyone should show up.
Remember the old saying, be the first one in so you can go the rest of the way in that line, and the 10 is.
The disadvantage, of course, you have is you're going to put a lot more miles on those tires. If you get a caution at the end, maybe you'll be worse off. But what you do, you protect yourself. If there's a full course yellow, because the pit lane would be closed, everyone would stack up and you lead right to the front.
Good scrap going on here. The 57 of Rodman Liddell, the 70 of Jonathan Bomarito. This is for second and third in class. Boris said is out in front, and he's got a comfortable margin over the 57.
There is Boris said right now, the winning Corvette with a healthy lead, as you said, lead. They're second, third.
We're hearing that the Gainsco machine is in. Alex Gurney has brought the 99 Red Dragon to pit road. Here we go. The chase is on.
Yeah, they need a good clean stop here. We've talked about in recent weeks, you need the perfect race, the perfect execution to win one. Greg's right there.
Well, they had that execution in the first stop along with Fogarty's pace with those clean laps. They are in. Car is up. Sunoco fuel going in. Continental tires going on. And let's see, everything at this point seems to be fairly routine. It's a good stop. It all comes down to this fuel getting it in. Fuel is in. Now it's that tire, the right front a little long. Now they clean the windshield their way. Chris.
Well, the 01 is also in. This will probably be a little bit longer stop than what we saw with the 99 and the 10 car, because this car, its first stop was a good 30 minutes prior, so they're going to need a full tank of Sunoco fuel. Four Continental tires on, trying to repair the damage on the right front corner here. Put a little bit of bare bottom, trying to get that bodywork back in place. Still fueling the car, so the repair in the front is not slowing it down. Now it's still repairing the front as that fuel is done. About 5 seconds longer. Scott Pruitt stalls the car. 8 seconds longer.
And you saw that
that pit stop was probably about 8 seconds longer than it needed to be because of the damage and Scott Pruitt stalling the car.
And you saw the 99 was able to get out again ahead of the 10. The call from Simon Hodgson was saying, go, go, go. He's on cold tires, so the race is on.
I think Angelelli's a little bit closer to Gurney than on the previous pit stop, but there was a slight delay there on the 99. One of the crew members was in that cockpit assisting Alex Gurney with something. There you see it. Remember, Angelelli has a lot more heat in these tires. He's going to put the pressure on him. He's going to make the move. He's got to pounce now, Dorsey.
You know, I'll be honest with you, the 01 car, that repair job was done. It's not as pretty as it might have been. They could have taken a little bit longer trying to get that. They might still have trouble with that car before the race is over.
Look at this. Angelelli is pushing. He's digging deep. He's digging deep. The team will be on the radio. You've got to do it now, Max. You've got to take advantage of Gurney being on relatively cold tires.
And we've seen Gurney on cold tires do a really good job before in the same situation earlier races. He's had to come out and really throw down some good laps on those cold tires.
Action Express Porsche has come to pit lane as well. Here it is.
Hits the marks, crew over the wall, fuel in, going with the tires. And it's interesting, I only see, all right, now they go to the left side tires. They didn't get them over the wall quite as quick, but it doesn't look like it's going to affect it. Looks like those Continental tires will be on. Fuel is the key here. It's topped up. And, oh, little issue. They pulled out too soon. Now they got all the fuel in and let him go, but that was a costly couple of seconds.
Angelelli, as you can see on the left, has been unable to do anything about Alex Gurney for the lead of this race.
He got close, but now Gurney has the tire temps up. The pressures are there. And he has a great race car today. The Red Dragon is hooked up.
We saw this the first time back at Laguna Seca or Mazda Raceway, as back then Alex Gurney had to do the same thing. Come out and really lay down some laps cold tires. It's hard to do.
Up onto the 69 of Jeff Siegel as they work their way through. 48 minutes remain here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Can SunTrust do anything about the 99? We'll find out. 57 is in for Stevenson Motorsports. Greg is there.
I am very aggressive on the end. They know this one is still in play. So right now, those Continental tires going on. Remember, they've got the 5 lugs that they have to do, not just the center lug. They got the Sunoco field and down here. Very good stop. A little further up the number 70 Mazda is in from Speed Source, and it looks like the Brumos Porsche has been in and completed a stop. So all the players in GT and the 70 Speed Source Mazda underway as well.
Pretty sure Rob Lindell's got good rear temp on the tires. Good double
31 was in just a lap ago, Dorsey, so it's going to be interesting to see if Owen Kelly got back up to speed and maintained the track position on these guys. They're making pit stops now.
31 has just come on to the front straight, so it may play into the hands of the other boys. We will monitor that for you.
While that was all going on, the 59 Brumos Porsche was also in the pit and got back out clean 8th.
It was a good run from the big man. Let's hear from Boris.
Yeah, Boris said just cooling off down here. Big smile on his face. Boris, come on, you gotta give me the angry eyes, man. You've been the bad boy this week.
I know, but now I'm a lover, not a fighter. I mean, wheeling car's really good today. Hopefully Owen will do a good job, but I mean, everything was great. It was just saving brakes out there and just cruising, and a little hot today, but it was still a lot of fun out there.
You look a little hot, man. You got another big race after this one. You can be ready for the nationwide race?
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Well, these guys are in great shape. Owen Kelly now behind the wheel.
That smile says it all. He's wanting to win that nationwide.
But that pit stop really cost the 31 team. Remember, they were leading here last year. We got a caution, and they didn't execute the right strategy. That cost them the win. That pit stop was pretty lengthy. They've lost a lot of track time and positions to the other front runners in GT.
Both the 57 and the 70 and the 59 got out ahead in good position. Hey, have you ever wondered what Circuit Gilles Villeneuve's like? Well, turn up the volume and enjoy the ride aboard the Gamma 88 Riley. AIM Autosport's Mark Wilkins, a Canadian, will give you the tour. Here we go. Is the saying timing is everything in television?
Oh, I thought, man, he's breaking late for that chicane.
Yeah, I did too. I said, we're going to have a rock.
Okay, you can enjoy a pit stop then. The AIM Autosport guys go to work trying to get a podium, trying to get their first podium of the year on what has been an abbreviated season.
Yeah, very frustrated with how the car rolled off the truck, but they continued to dig deep. Remember, they had a great run at Watkins Glen on their return to action last weekend with a 4th place run. Literally out of tires, out of fuel, on fumes there at the end. But
Hold. Go.
Yeah, the radio communication, good clean start for the AIM boys. So it's so hard to skip races, Dorsey, and come back and execute as you'd like to.
Boy, it is. You just lose your rhythm. You know, you got to start all over again. That's how you see at the end of the season. All of the teams now are very, very good, but because they've been racing all year long.
Getting you back to that GT story, it did go in the favor of Robin Liddell and Jonathan Bomarito. The 57 and the 70 are first and second. The 44 of Craig Stanton has slotted into third. How are things looking for Speed Source, Greg?
Well, Sylvain, an absolutely great run for you guys. We talked earlier, and you thought maybe our only hope was going to have just flat-out green flag racing. That's exactly what's happened.
That's great. I mean, obviously, you know, the engineers worked real hard on the car. We had a great piece this morning. Had a pretty frisky first stint there, so we went from 6th to 3rd. So it's good for the boys. And Jonathan's in the car right now. We're on the strategy we need. We just need it to stay green right now. So Jonathan's just doing an amazing job. What a talent. Just real thankful of Miles and all the supporting cast. Will really be fun to end up on the podium in my hometown. So we'll see.
That's true, folks. Originally from Montreal, Sylvain Tremblay is loving this.
You can understand why a lot of people are talking about GrandAm GT competition. I mentioned a little earlier, here it is for you to see. It is tight at the top. Mazda, Porsche tied with just this race and Mid-Ohio to crown the GT Manufacturers Championship. Chevrolet's not out of it either.
Oh, it's really, really tight. It's going to go right down to the wire, of course. But right now we're looking at the 31 car. Owen Kelly, he's got a lot of work to do. Dropped to 7th after that round of pit stops.
Chris has been at the Marsh Racing camp. What's going on with the 31, Chris?
Yeah, Lee, I went and checked in on that because they came in, I think they were in 3rd place and slid back to 7th because of that slow pit stop. And Teddy Marsh said it was just the driver change. You know, these drivers that are participate in this series all year long, they continually practice those driver changes. So when you bring a driver in who hasn't been part of the series all year, he and Boris, Owen Kelly and Boris practiced quite a bit this weekend, but obviously just didn't practice enough and lost some precious seconds.
A lot going on in those pit stops between the drivers getting out. First of all, it's a big driver with Boris getting out of a very little space. You got a cool suit you got to hook up. You've got radio communication you got to hook up. You got to do your helmet so you know who's in the car with the transponders. A lot going on there.
So the order in GT, Liddell, Bomarito, Stanton. However, there's a question mark on the 44 Magnus machine because Craig has been out there considerably longer than those around him, those who he is racing. Remember, we are still caution-free with only 35 minutes to run in this race. Here's the 88 of Jordan Taylor, and it's in a very unfamiliar 10th position.
Yeah, they really got...
Chris?
Yeah, this all goes back to that spin that Bill Lester had early on when the 94 got into it. They just haven't been able to make up the time to the leaders. I just checked in with that team, and they said the car is running well, got lots of speed into it, but unless the caution flag flies, they just don't think that they can make up that time. The good thing is the 59 car, which is right behind them in the championship, I think it's back in about 5th or 6th place, too, so they're not going to make up that many points on the 88.
Heard a little radio chatter just then, and they're encouraging Max Angelelli to go a bit quicker if he would. They just said, Max, got to get on it. We're not about being second.
They realize they got to win races here to even put any sort of pressure on the Ganassi team. We're having a really un-Ganassi-like day. But having said that, Scott Pruitt has worked his magic. He's now up into the top 5.
Gurney, Angelelli, it's 5 seconds the difference. Darren Law is running 3rd. It'll be a really positive result if the Action Express boys could be on the podium. They have had about 4 or 5 6th places in a row. And then it's Pruitt, Dial, Barbosa's in 7th. Wilkins is in 8th. Remember that ride we promised you before? Well, we're pretty confident he's not going to pit anytime soon. So here we go, a full lap around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Down about 65 through the apex there, so that is massive, massive braking. You do it like 4 times a lap around here. 155 right there. In the technical.
And the 8 car just pitted. We've leapfrogged up, so we got a good count on that. We're now P7.
Ian Willis there on the radio giving Mark Wilkins the information. Very technical part of the racetrack here. You can eat that inside curve there. You've got to be careful on this one. It will throw you into the wall.
I'd rather say you use the first curve, you don't abuse the others. Rev limiter there, big time.
Tricky spot. You don't want to have to grab another gear just for a split second and then go down. So probably choose to run the limiter there. They're pretty good. Few laps on the board, 5 laps, so that's why you're getting through that corner with the speed. Get the car up into the rev limiter. As the tyres go away, Dorsey, you probably wouldn't carry the same speed, and it won't be such
exactly right. You won't be able to carry that speed out the corner, and you won't get that straightaway speed, so you won't hit the rev limiter.
Bit of a lonely race at the moment for Mark Wilkins and the Gamma 88 Riley because he's 9 seconds behind Joao Barbosa, and he has a considerable gap over Alex Popov. The Brumos boys are feeling confident. Where can the famous 59 finish at the end of the day? Beautiful place to be on the St. Lawrence Seaway here, and here is the Telmex BMW Riley with Scott Pruitt behind the wheel. We're less than half an hour to go here in Montreal, folks. Caution-free up to now. This is very uncharacteristic of GrandAm Rolex Sports Car Series competition. The last time we had a caution-free race, Mid-Ohio 2007, where the victors were the 99 Gainsco boys. Well, Alex Gurney in the 99 Gainsco Chevy Riley is up front. It's been a very uncharacteristic day also for this car. Let's hear from one of its drivers. Here's Memo Rojas.
Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas currently sitting in 5th. And Memo, we see that damage at the right front corner of the 01. Is that damage upsetting the balance of the car?
Not really. We actually did our quickest lap time afterwards. We're just struggling with the balance all over, but the car didn't change after that hole.
During your stint, you had contact with the 77 and the 8. What happened in those incidents?
Well, unfortunately, with the 8 car, we all bunched up in the hairpin, and I guess he kind of, brake checked a bit because everybody was getting bunched up, and I just tapped them accidentally. I apologize to them, and with the 77, I think they were trying to be nice to us. They were a lap down, and I think it was Brian driving. He just let go the gas in the middle of the back sweeper when we're flat on the power, and I was right on his tail, and so he just let me go. But I was right on his tail when he braked, and unfortunately couldn't miss him, and it was just a bad spot to lift, I guess.
Memo and Scott have a 26-point lead in this championship, and the SunTrust boys are desperately trying to close that gap.
Yeah, they can't put the championship beyond doubt here today based on where they're running in their respective positions at the moment. So both title fights will go down to the wire at Mid-Ohio in a month's time.
As you said, caution-free, but by saying that, you probably jinxed for the next 27 minutes. We'll probably get a caution, I would think.
This is the race for the lead in GT 1, 2, and 3. It's Robert Liddell, Jonathan Bomarito, Craig Stanton in the 44 Magnus machine. It's been a really encouraging run. These guys got a podium a week ago at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, they've had a great month. They had another podium at Mid-Ohio in a different sports car series, but right now they're looking for their third in a row this month. Big question mark for Craig Stanton is, do they have enough fuel on board?
They ran in an invisible race, or what we like to call an invisible race. I was talking about the team. They just laid back, kind of blended in, if you will, in the middle. And then they did their fuel strategy. And at the end, all of a sudden, we were all surprised. We said, oh, my gosh, podium. Where'd that come from? Well, it was always in the making.
And that's a big day for both this car. If they can hold on to that podium for position and the 70 with the 59 a little bit further back and the 88 car struggling, they could really move up in this points chase.
They're only 19 out of the lead of the GT Championship, John Potter and Craig Stanton. So for John Bedell and all the guys who run the Magnus team, for John Potter, super exciting. However, if fuel doesn't work the way of the 44's wishes, the big gain will be for the 41 Dempsey Mazda.
What are you hearing down there, Chris?
Well, you guys were talking about how they snuck into that podium finish last week on the 44 guys. The reason they did that is they went into fuel conservation mode the second that Craig Stanton got in that car, and they just squeaked that one out. But I just checked with the team, asked them, are they good to go in this race? They shook it off. Nope, they're not.
Yeah, I think they're quite a ways out looking at the numbers, but meanwhile, Bomarito is really starting to put the pressure and heat on Rob Liddell. Liddell's hit one here twice before, of course, so close to another win last year when he damaged that front splitter and lost grip, but still had a podium run.
Well, we showed you the 59 team, the Brumos boys looking happy before. Points as they run. Dorse, I know you love this. This is what it looks like with 25 minutes to go. Brumos would really narrow the gap on Jordan Taylor and Bill Lester. Sylvain Tremblay and Jonathan Bomarito, who were contending for the championship a year ago, they're all of a sudden right in the mix.
And that could tighten up even more, because if the 44 does have to pit, it's going to really tighten things up here, because the 59 will probably leapfrog around them, but the 88 will not, so it could be even tighter still.
Hey, our speed crew are working hard crunching the numbers in the graphics department, and they've really compiled this as well. So as they run, we know the 44 doesn't have enough fuel to hang out there. They would move up to be within 10 out of the lead. The 41, they're only 19 back. This is good stuff.
Yeah, and what could have been if they'd hung on there at Watkins Glen and got that win last week instead of finishing 6th. Dewey and Dane Cameron could have really been in the mix as well.
Let's not forget about our old friends Court Wagner, Brent Martini. They won the GT Championship back in 2003, and Ferrari won the GT Manufacturers Championship. So we look forward to seeing the famed Italian mark back in GrandAm in 2012. Things are looking good for Alex Gurney. They're also looking good big picture-wise for the Brumos camp in GT. Let's go there now.
Yeah, I think Andrew Davis understands where they are in this championship, and if this thing finished right now, you guys would just be 2 points back. So is Lee all about pushing hard right now, or is it, hey, let's just finish this thing well and close the gap?
I think we've got to push hard. We really want to win this race. We need to. The closer we can get to the 88 for the next race, or be ahead of them, is great. We've got to. We can't hold back now. It's too late to hold back.
As a young driver in this position going into the final race, maybe just a point or two back in the championship, what kind of pressure does that feel like?
Well, you can feel there's a lot more pressure even this weekend, but I thrive off that pressure, and so does Lee. We like that, and the team's behind us. They gave us a great car for this weekend, and we're just going to push as hard as we can and try and win out. That's the way to win. We know we'll win the championship then.
Thinking all the way back to January, I think any of us would think it was hard to believe that this new Porsche for Brumos would be right there in the championship when we got to September.
And for that nice young man, Andrew Davis, to drive a Porsche again, but to drive for Brumos Racing. I sat next to Andrew on a plane back to Atlanta once, and he said, you know, the day I got the phone call to say would you drive for Hurley Haywood and Broomos and Dan Davis? He said, I couldn't believe it. Speaking of Hurley, there's a special car out.
Here's what you don't see every day. Porsche is making 5 of these. It's called the Porsche B59, and the 5 is to commemorate Hurley's 5 wins at the 24 Hours of Daytona. They can only be bought and purchased through Brumos Porsche, but that's something never done before from Porsche factory. That's a factory Porsche B59.
That's a sweet car, but look at this battle up front. Liddell now really feeling the pressure from Bomarito. We're talking about the 59, the 88. This 70 is going to be right back in the mix. Even if they finish here, a win would even be even better.
Look up ahead at the 31 Corvette, guys. Watch this. Too much speed. Another brake issue.
Yeah, you have to wonder, Boss said he babied those brakes. Maybe Owen's using them a little too hard.
Well, you can overheat those in one over-aggressive application. And then, speaking of that, we talked about the 8 car, and we saw it go straight on, and it's behind the wall with no brakes.
Brake issues, and certainly the 31 car did have braking issues here on the first day of practice, so they made some changes, but, you know, it's been a long green flag running here, and it really puts the pressure on him trying to keep him underneath you.
Robin Liddell is vying for his 3rd win in GT here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It could be a wonderful day, and he's only got to hang in there for another 18 minutes. Greg?
Well, and that's not necessarily going to be the easiest thing to do. I checked in with Mike Johnson, and he said Robin's lap times have been very consistent, but that Mazda on clear track when he's just behind Robin, he said is suddenly running laps sometimes half a second faster than they've seen that car run the entire race. And I think he said it's come alive, and it's exactly what the Mazda boys were talking about. We need green flag. We need those heavier cars, even a little more power. Use up brakes, use up tires a little bit. That gives them the advantage. Now, of course, catching and passing is a whole other story, but things looking awfully good for Speed Source right now.
Certainly are, but Robin Liddell, Greg, is certainly digging deep. He just ran his fastest lap of the race at 142.0, but Bomarito has just run consecutive 141.8, so he's catching him by a couple of tenths a lap, even with Robin running very fast laps.
The Mazda is the lightest car in vehicle weight of the entire GT field. So for Jonathan Bomarito, what he wants to do right now is run Robin Liddell really deep in the brake zones, make him abuse those brakes, make him use up that car, and he'll fall victim to a brake issue. You watch.
Big smile on Jonathan Bomarito's face. He is locked into the Castrol Speed Source team next year, so good consistency. This is only his 2nd year in GrandAm Rolex sports car competition, so good consistency within the team, and they can look forward to 2012. Hey, they may be going into 2012 as champions. Who knows?
Yeah, it's really going to tighten up here in the points today. The 70 team.
Oh! That just is a cold tire spin. They just came out of the pit lane, boys.
Driver around, bring her to the garage.
Well,
have to wonder why he was in pit lane, because he was good on fuel, as long as they got him topped up on the previous stop to the one he just made. Chris, what are you hearing?
Well, he had to come to fuel because the grill was just packed in with grass. I think he's having some braking issues with that car, too. He's complaining a little bit about that on the radio. And, hey, it looks like we got our full course caution, guys. We're going to have a sprint to the finish.
Told you, Lee.
This is going to be crazy. It gives Angelelli a second chance. It gives Darren Law a shot at the win that was taken away from him in 2008. Here's the replay of the 31. You can hear the tires protesting.
That probably is indicative of losing the front brakes and having rear only, more than likely. I mean, these front brakes usually have a lot more temp, and they tend to go off first.
Yeah, so it's like yanking on the e-brake effectively when you come into the corners. So Owen's done a great job in really, being thrown in at the deep end. He did a super job here today and did a great job in qualifying yesterday for the nationwide race, putting Marcus Ambrose's car up in the top 10.
Well, anybody who's iffy on fuel just got the brake they needed, but I don't know.
I think everyone's pretty good. It's going to stack this field up, though, and certainly put a lot of pressure back on Gurney. Pruitt's up there in the top 5.
Look at Gurney's got the door open. He's hot in there, boys.
15 minutes to go. We're going to squeeze in a commercial break like we do. Come back, we'll see green flag racing. You'll see a mad scramble to the checkered flag.
Obviously, they had a nice little margin in hand, but he was definitely very hot under the collar.
And they'll be telling him with 11 minutes to go, you can do this. Pump it up, buddy. You can make 11 minutes. No question about it. No matter how hot you are, that's not that bad a deal. It's easy for me to say that because I'm sitting over here in kind of air conditioning.
Yeah. A win will make you get through some adversity for sure. Remember, they were our victors at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, John Fogarty and Alex Gurney in their home state. We'll see if they can win at a track they have never won at before.
You can bet Max Angelelli is going to put all the pressure he can possibly put, though, on that car.
We see the two leaders, the 57 and the 70 in GT, and now behind them is the 41 car. As we expected, that 44 car now coming into shot there. They did need a little bit of fuel. Even with this caution, it wasn't enough. So they brought Craig Stanton in, giving him a splash of fuel. He drops down to 8th.
This helps Robin Liddell in the 57. This allows his tires and his brakes to cool down for this last 10-minute sprint we'll have.
It also helps Dempsey Racing. James Gilles has gone up, Dane Cameron, I should say, has gone up into 3rd place. It also helps the SunTrust Dallara of Max Angelelli.
Well, it definitely might. Their biggest problem right now, you had that radio transmission you guys were talking about where they said, Max, you got to find it. We're not about finishing second. Problem is they're asking him to carry that car because they're down at least 3 miles an hour. Wayne Taylor said down the straights. I asked him what's causing it. He said, we're a little befuddled. We don't know, but we're just not there. So maybe cooling things down a little bit under this caution, maybe that'll help. And maybe the creativity and passing of a Max Angelelli might be what they need on the restart.
So a sad sight there with the 31 Whelen Corvette being taken back to its place in the paddock and will not see the checkered flag today.
Can you hold your breath for 9.5 minutes, boys?
Yeah,
it's going to be
Here
wild.
we go.
You're going to have to.
Gurney, Angelelli, Law, Garcia, Pruitt, Barbosa. Remember Barbosa, he's had a fast car all weekend long. He could be a factor here.
The two cars that started on the front row are 1 and 2. Can Angelelli pull off a nice move like Ricky Taylor did and put that car in the lead? We will find out. Darren Law's in with a good shot in the 5. And let's not forget about Antonio Garcia as well. Green is in the air. Let's go racing here in Montreal for the final 9 minutes.
Gurney with a great jump on that restart.
Yeah, he timed that perfectly. Didn't really give Angelelli a sniff down into this first braking zone.
Got good understeer on that car through. Look at Angelelli push wide.
Oh, Popov goes around.
Yeah, Darren Law gave him a little punch there. And Popov was a lap car, and Darren just wanted to get on with the program.
And here come the GT guys right in the middle of it all.
Alex making things spectacular there in the 2. Tried to do a flick spin and went a little too far. Angelelli checked up, and that caused Popov to check up, and that's what put Darren Law into the back. Look at the boys fight hard here.
Yeah, look at Cameron. He's trying to get around Bomarito for second. Liddell got a little bit of help in traffic there with the 30 machine, spreading him from the rest of the pack.
Keane gets around the number 30 Racers Edge Mazda. There's a little bit of traffic there as well. Dane Cameron feels he's got a shot to win this race. Keep an eye on that silver Mazda right there. They got 3rd place, their first podium of the year at New Jersey Motorsports Park. They were looking good for another one at Watkins Glen until fuel bit them, and they dropped back to 6th.
That snap spin on the 2 car, the clutch is blown. It's out.
Certainly the 41 car has shown impressive speed here the last couple of weekends. We mentioned earlier in the show a little bit of a shake-up in terms of the team personnel. I think Greg Cates is now more responsible for the running of this car solely. And they're certainly showing they've got great form, and Dane Cameron, as you'd expect, getting the job done.
The wealth of experience that Greg Cates brings to that program, from the IndyCar days to his days at BMW Rahal Letterman Racing. And now he's the team manager at Dempsey Racing.
Understanding that Mark Wilkins might have had a bit of an issue on this lap going back to green. 60 car down to the inside of him. We're on board with Mark Wilkins.
Just peels the nose off to the side. That's a shame for the GAM 88 guys. They've been doing a pretty good job.
Remember last year here at Dorsey, Bert Frizzell had that issue on the opening lap and massive damage to the front of that car, so their fans and the Gamma 88 folks will be bitterly disappointed.
Fight going on here between Billy Johnson in the Turner BMW M3 and the 42 of John Edwards. It's so unusual to see Billy Johnson in that Turner car because Turner is the rival team in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series that Billy fights with on a regular basis, he and Jack Rouse Jr. But he's enjoying his second race in the yellow and blue.
Yeah, and I tell you what, he's done a great job of coaching Paul Dall'Olana. Even though Paul is Canadian, he's never visited this racetrack before. I was over by their pit box in between sessions yesterday. He was just talking him through, talking about gears, just a really great mentor and a great fill-in for Billy Oberlin here. here this weekend.
And Billy Johnson's such a nice young driver. He's going places, guys. I guarantee you, he's got a future here.
When you got Jack Roush Sr. believing in you, you know all about that, Dorse and Cal. You both drove for Jack. That's a huge boost.
It's better than the other way around.
Yeah, you don't want to be running against him, that's for sure. You saw Billy Johnson there getting a little bit sideways with that BMW coming off that chicane, just trying to get the power down with a lot of laps on those tires.
Jeff Siegel in the 69 is not on the lead lap. It's hard for us to say that, isn't it, when he's the defending GT Series champ. Liddell's got to get by him and get by him quick.
He does. Can the Mazda help out the other Mazdas? They're trying to get the lead away from that Camaro.
That's exactly what my thought was. How much of a team player in Mazda will this be?
Liddell puts the Camaro on the inside. He's not quite close enough.
This is going to be a thrilling battle. We saw it last year. 3 abreast going down to the wire here. Ken Stevenson go one better than they did last year, finishing 2-3. They have a great record here. And Robin is so frustrated, along with the rest of the crew, on how that win got away from them at Watkins Glen. Bomarito looking good.
This is tough for Robin Liddell for sure. He's got a Mazda that's lap that he had to deal with. And now they're 3.
Now teammates again. We talk about the Mazdas. Now you've got 2 of the Speed Source cars running 1-2 second, and you've got Jeff Siegel right in the mix here. Can he defend a little bit from Dane Cameron and let his teammate Jonathan Bomarito gap him a little bit?
And look in the background, you've got Lee Keane in the 59 Porsche. You've got Billy Johnson making up enormous ground in the 94 Turner BMW. 5 minutes to go, and Gurney has a healthy 2+ second lead. Life is good for the 99.
Yeah, it is magic. It is the Magic Dragon this weekend, because he has just got the hammer down and taken off from the front of this field once again. But look at this. You see the twitching under braking there for Robin Liddell as he's trying to roll that car down. Big heavy car. He's really, that little throw there with a caution Dorsey will help, but still the brakes are going to be an issue.
Look further back at the 94. Johnson just got Keane. That BMW is flying.
Yep, no doubt about it. But again, like Calvin just said, these guys are running at 10/10 in the brake zones. That's why you see the twitching. And with that, you got to watch out for overheating.
You got to keep working that brake bias. Don't overheat one end of the race car in terms of the brakes. That's where the experience comes into play, and Robin's got so much experience in this car. He should be in good shape, but Bomarito is hungry. They want another win. And remember, they had one this year already. They want a second and really close that points gap.
Oh, trouble here. Billy Johnson is pushing really hard back here in the BMW, like you said before, Lee.
Well, that 94 Turner BMW has not seen the podium since VIR earlier in the year. And the boys from Amesbury, Massachusetts would love it. Billy's got to get by the lap car of Jeff Siegel, though, first. Through comes one of the Starworks, the sole remaining Starworks machine.
And you said such a strange dynamic, because when we go to Mid-Ohio, Paul Dallalana leads the Continental Tire Championship. Billy Johnson is trying to come from behind, but if he wins and Dallalana gets a top 10, the championship will still go to the Turner boys and Paul Dallalana, but a lot on the line.
This fight for GT honours is not over. Robin Liddell has been a part of exciting and thrilling finishes here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and he is yet again.
And you got prototype cars mixed in the fray that are going to make it even yet more difficult to deal with the last few minutes of this race.
Spoke to both these teams about their braking. Mike Johnson said we just added a bunch of cooling to try and help us out during the course of this race. Spoke to Sylvain Tremblay about the 70. He said we really paid attention to the details. The mesh, the gauze that covers the brake fence has been increased in size to let a little bit more air in. They really work with how they put the rotors and the bobbins together, Dorsey, to try to not to generate any extra heat.
Good job, Alex. 2 laps to go, plus 1.8.
That's what you want to hear. Talk that car through the last couple laps, especially when he's hot. When he's feeling the pain of it all, you got to talk him on.
Let's give a shout out to the number 5. Here it is, Darren Law. They'll be looking at their first podium in a long time. It'll be their 3rd podium of the year in a couple of minutes' time, and a much-needed shot at this end of the season.
And Antonio Garcia, too, guys. We haven't seen much of him. He's behind the wheel of the 90. He's right there.
He's got nothing to lose. He's going to be going for it. Look up front, though. Dane Cameron now up to 3rd. You can see him there. He's got around that lap traffic. He's got a clear run to the lead. Does he have anything left with a couple of laps to go?
Johnny and Susan Stevenson will be biting their fingernails. Mike Johnson, I'm sure, is on the radio to Robin. They've formed such a tight partnership over the last 3 years or so. A very effective partnership. It's still hard to believe that the 57 hasn't yet won a championship. It just hasn't gone their way.
Well, this year it's just been horrible. no, snake bit luck. I mean, there's nothing that they could do about the situation. They run good, just like Mike Johnson said. They've been in the front of all these races, led the most laps.
That team were just deflated after last week. They said, you know, we ran the perfect race. Everything was going our way, and then it was a prop shaft that broke. And he said, that's something we run all year typically. That one only had 3 races on it. No reason for that to happen.
And here's Antonio Garcia putting pressure on Darren Lawn. He's not out of this race.
1 to go. 2.7 miles for the boys in the Red Dragon to get their 2nd victory of the year. How did they do it? They just did it with good speed, good pit stops, good strategy, and this car's had speed all weekend.
As we know, this is a long lap, right? This last one?
It is a very long lap. And it's not over right until the very end, right?
That's correct.
Look at there. See Dane Cameron there. I think he's losing grip in those red tires. Really run wide there off the hairpin turn. Liddell has a little bit more of a cushion now on Bommarito.
I think Dane is somewhat frustrated because he got stuck there behind Jeff Siegel for a while, and he couldn't quite get there. He's made up some ground on Bommarito as the 57 comes up on the 88. It's weird seeing the 88 mired back in 9th place.
And Jordan Taylor will be being told that's a Camaro. You got to help him out. This is for Chevrolet.
Absolutely. Both teams are talking about we're not going to give up podiums in terms of the Drivers' Championship, but certainly Manufacturers' Championship is high on their priorities.
4 points blanket 3 different manufacturers in the GT Manufacturers title chase. Chevrolet is in 2nd place. Here we have it. The Bob Stallings Gainsco team are on their way to victory lane. They're almost there on a beautiful day in Quebec, Canada. This is going to be a story, a real good story for them, a much-needed victory. Set the pole yesterday in the hands of John Fogarty in convincing style. And Bob Stallings' boys have never won at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. They have now. Fogarty and Gurney do it. And Alex receiving the congratulations from the boss.
Jonathan Bommarito right there, but Robin Liddell, with all of his experience, will not give up this lead, I don't believe.
No, I don't think so. We'll be interested to see what Jordan Taylor does. If he keeps the hammer down, he's probably not going to interfere with these leaders. He's running very competitive lap times. But they're going to dig deep. Robin Liddell sideways. He's sideways. Bommarito pounces. They're going to get the power down. Who has the horsepower down to that final turn?
It's going to be close.
Just when you thought Robin Liddell was comfortable, this is not over yet. He doesn't have his 3rd win just yet. Bommarito goes to the outside. It's going to be hard to execute a move there.
Liddell's going to have to use all of his experience here. Just get it into that track position first, then slow him down a little bit and just jump on that power.
Dane Cameron feels he's got a shot too and stealing a position away. But this is it for the 57. Robin Liddell and Ronnie Bremer, they do it. Awesome performance from the Stevenson boys. Nail-biting stuff. Mike Johnson is ecstatic with that one. What a win. 3rd one in Canada for Robin Liddell. That's special. We'll come back to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in just a moment. We'll hear just how significant that was. It's a gorgeous day in Montreal, and it's even more beautiful if you belong to Bob Stallings' Gainsco team. Alex Gurney, he hands the team their 15th Rolex Series win for he and John Fogarty. That one was good. Another podium for the 5 for the Action Express boys, and a season best for car number 90, the Spirit of Daytona boys. All right, it's always special when you go to victory lane. Let's go there now.
Well, Alex Gurney getting a well-deserved, hard-earned drink of water, and he is absolutely wiped, I would think, after a failure in the helmet cooling unit. In particular, we saw you driving around with that door open. You had to survive a lot of pressure after that restart as well. It was a good one today.
Yeah, I mean, the car was really good, you know, fast enough to hold those guys off. So, yeah, the air thing wasn't too nice. It was sitting on the ground on the other side of the cockpit. So anyway, it got real hot in there, and but you know, it was enough. I think that yellow was probably a good thing, because I think we tend to get a little bit away after a restart. So anyway, great day. John was awesome in his stint, and you know, had an amazing pole run, and just an awesome team effort.
We got to talk to John real quick. John, obviously you got that 4th pole here. That's a record. The 18th career, that's a record. But most of all, you broke a record that you guys were struggling with nobody ever winning from pole here. Got it done today.
Absolutely. You know, like I said, ultimately our best strategy today was to have the fastest car, and we did. The Gain Squad Auto Insurance car was smoking, and Alex set the fastest lap, and really happy to get this one checked off the list. And yeah, just like this place that much more now.
Guys, they went to the front and got their second win of the year on pace.
And for the 5th year in a row, a different driver combination goes to victory lane here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And Robin Liddell becomes the only 3-time winner here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Fantastic run. I thought it was going to get away from him in that final big hairpin turn, and he gathered it back up, used his experience beautifully to really manage that final chicane.
He had to dig deep. When that thing got loose, Jonathan Bomarino had the position. I thought it was all over, but he really did pull off a good one today.
They're the results. I can't wait to see the points. That'll be coming up shortly. But first, let's go to our GT winners.
Well, it's been a year of highs and lows for the Stevenson group. More lows than highs, but they get their second win of the year. Robin, what happened down there in the bust, or down in the hairpin there in the last lap?
Well, to be honest, I was just pushing so hard for the last 30 minutes that I thought even in the first stint when the 70 car was behind, I really didn't think we had anything for them after the midpoint in the stint. But, you know, once it became 30 minutes to the checker and it was just us and them, I just thought I'm just going to basically just drive every lap like a qualifying lap. So I was somewhat surprised I didn't make more mistakes than I did, but that last little mistake on the last lap nearly cost me the win. But, you know, fortunately we were pretty good down the back straight into the S's, so even though he could get right alongside me, I knew I could outbrake him into the last turn, so I just kept my head and kept it together. So thanks to all the guys and everybody, GM Racing, you know, Stevenson and Von Allman. I mean, it's just been an awesome result finally to get the car back up there again.
And Ronnie, you weren't with the team at Lime Rock, so you didn't get that win, but you get your first Rolex win this weekend on a pretty tough week.
Yeah, it's been a tough week. My dad died on Sunday, but the team did a good job.
Well, he said he dedicated this win to his dad. Obviously very emotional, but a great weekend for the entire team.
And he couldn't have anyone better beside him than Robin Liddell, because Robin unfortunately lost his father earlier this year as well. So they can support each other and they can celebrate together. We told you GT was going to be crazy. Look at how tight this is now going to the season finale.
Yeah, 6 drivers with a definite shot, Dorsey, but don't count out those other guys. For Stanton and Potter, if they didn't need that splash of fuel, they'd be right in there as well.
You know, if you wrote a script for a series and you were going to bring it down to the end, it could not be better than this GT field. This has been an awesome year, and it's coming down to the next race at Mid-Ohio.
Well, the top 4, you've got Chevrolet, you've got Porsche, you've got Mazda and BMW. It is fantastic. And from 26 points, the lead in DP drops to 20.
It narrows, and I think for Angela Lee and Taylor, that win would have been 3 more points. That would have put a little bit more pressure on Pruitt and Rojas looking comfortable.
And Darren Law, David Donahue, courtesy of their podium here today, have a little more breathing room over their Action Express brethren. Let's hear more from those who are at the front. Greg?
Well, standing by with Max the X Angelelli, you had a great run today. Unfortunately, not getting the win, but your 7th straight podium, 8th total, and you kept the championship alive, finishing in front of the 0-1.
Yeah, we want to win. Second place is kind of upsetting a little bit, but I can tell you I was really pushing. The 99 had a good car here today. You know, they deserve the win. I definitely never gave up. I just have this thought that in a full green race, I would have catched him for sure. I was catching him, but after the restart, got caught by huge understeer, lost the line. I lost those 2 seconds where for me was like a kiss of a death.
Well, it was a very entertaining run as always from you, Max. Congratulations, and again, keeping that championship alive. Let's get to Chris with 2nd in GT.
Well, Sylvain Tremblay and Jonathan Bomarino are the hottest drivers in GT over the last 4 races. Jonathan, that last lap, you see the 57 slip up down in the hairpin. Did you think that was your chance?
Oh, man, I knew we had a shot right at the end there. You know, he went wide of the apex, had a bad run off, and we were able to suck up to him. He went to the bottom. And the chicane down there is pretty treacherous. They call it the Wall of Champions for a reason. So we had to think about the championship, and I'm so proud of the whole Speed Source crew. My teammate Sylvain, everybody did an awesome job. We got a shot at the championship.
Well, they're making a late season charge here. They've got 1 more race. Greg?
Well, standing by with 3rd place in DP, and Darren, you guys as a team came off of the truck, both cars very quick. You said in that early stint David was dealing with some understeer, but you were able to keep it alive, keep it on the podium.
Yeah, you know, at Action Express, the guys have done a great job. Like you said, we rolled off the truck good. I don't think we really had anything for 10 or 99, but we had enough for the rest of the field. David had a great stint, and same with me. We just ran well and had a good finish, and it's nice to be back on the podium.
Had a great run here. Of course, you got some good history with close finishes here. This one was great. Let's get it down to Chris with 3rd in the podium and GT.
Well, James Gooey and Dane Cameron get their second podium of the year. Great charge there at the finish. You saw those two cars coming back to you, but you just didn't quite have it for them, did you?
Yeah, we were catching them as the run went on. If it was maybe a 2 hour 45-minute race, we might have had something for them. Our car was really good on the long run. I mean, this is almost as good as a win because we were so bad in first practice. The team really worked hard. We got better, and we were as fast as anyone in the race. Thought we were maybe going to be able to pick up the pieces there coming on the front straight away, but we just finished nose to tail. So really excited to get the Team Seattle car in the podium here.
Yeah, Dempsey Racing finishing the year strong.
Yeah, great work from those guys. They really have turned it around in the second part of the season. Our 5th year here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve was one to remember. Every year's been enjoyable. We say thanks to the Canadian fans for putting on a great weekend for the GrandAm Rolex Sports Car Series. We look ahead in 4 weeks to Mid-Ohio. We'll see you then.